Hello everybody and welcome to this 10th edition of Special Steels Convention. As you know, Steelworld has been organizing Special Steels Convention for the last 9-10 years. And basically we are bringing all the stakeholders of Special Steels sector together to discuss various issues related to the industry. As you know, Special Steels is a very special sector of the steel sector. It requires very intricate metallurgy. It requires very intricate applications also. Mostly 50% of special steels, as you know, go into the automobiles vehicles. Remaining 50% goes to various engineering, power sector, and emerging sectors are defense and railways. So the special steel sectors is said to be the barometer of the growth of the any society or the growth of any national economy. So to that extent, it is a very important sector of the economy. It is very important sector of the steel fraternity. And that is why Steelworld has been giving emphasis on this sector and doing this conference for last 10 years. As you know, though we had this conference in physical form, we have been mostly doing it in Pune, where all the steel makers and the forging units and the automakers are there in large numbers. This time, due to COVID, of course, we cannot hold it in a physical form. So we are holding it on a digital platform, and I am very happy to have all of you with us because this was a very testing period for everybody. And now we have seen that the industry is opening up, industry is emerging, and we are trying to get to the pre-COVID levels. And so that's where we are on this 5th of February. We are starting the inauguration session of this very important industry gathering. And I welcome Mr. V R Sharma, Managing Director of Jindal Steel and Power Ltd. Thank you, Sharma ji, for sparing some time for us. And thanks for your support to this convention. I welcome you. I also welcome Mr. Yash Munot. Yash Munot is Vice President of Indian Forging Association, and they are the people who are using maximum volume of special steel. So I welcome Mr. Yash. Mr. Yash, thank you very much for sparing your time, and we would like to hear from you regarding your inputs as a representative of forging industry, very important application industry, user industry for special steel producers. So I welcome Mr. Yash Munot. And in fact, I would request Mr. Munot first to talk a few minutes about the present status of the forging industry, uses of special steels, and of course, one cannot forget the recently announced union budget and its effect on steel industry, on special steels, and on auto component industry in specific. And we would like to hear from Mr. Yash Munot. Mr. Yash Munot, please.
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chandekar, for the introduction. Mr. V R Sharma, it's a pleasure to be on the same platform with you. Just to give a background, after the pandemic, for us, there have been the schedules from most of the OEs and two-wheeler sector, including infrastructure, in the which we lost in the first couple of months in the longest faced with the so for the industry to come back into its and we have mainly the whole of forging industry has people from the north and south to work, which is being a challenge now with the vaccination drive. Hopefully that will give them some comfort to come back. The second biggest challenge has been steel for us because of the sudden in the present market with their 100% operations are a very few which were not able to keep up to the demand of the industry. Plus the increasing prices of raw material iron ore has really affected the the industry, and obviously the delay in settlement of the price increases by OEMs, which directly affects the forging industry, because we are not able to directly go and pass on the increases to the steel mills, as it's all dependent on the end customer. So that has been a big challenge for us, and getting steel to comply with orders has become very challenging. Things are improving regardless, with the steel mills putting up their capacities, putting up the new furnaces, including Rashtriya Ispat, whose one furnace has been down for a while, has been coming on now. To looking at, so on the steel front, that's been a big challenge for us. Now, moving on to the budget, for us, it's a very good budget. It's a very promising budget for us. The funds allocated to infrastructure development, about 5.5 trillion, is a good amount, which should see good development in the commercial vehicles. The bus manufacturing, which was the bus transport, 18,000 crores allocated, that should see again a good movement in that segment. With the also improvement in the duties on steels, special steels, and for doing job work, reducing is going to give a big boost to the specialized machining that needs to be done in India. So the duty structure, which has been improved for that. I think the import duty on iron ore and steel also reducing 2.5% now, and then I think a 7.5% is planned overall, which is good. A big setback we are facing is on the export, which has become a huge market after the global companies changing their strategy to have India as a source for forging and castings, resourcing basically, and avoiding China. So the export containers available for us, the time taken for containers to reach our end customer has increased. The cost of containers has almost doubled, which is a big cost, which is not absorbed by anybody but the end manufacturer. So that is causing a bit of problem at our end in the industry. So yeah, hopefully things improve and we are able to get to the volumes that we expect, and hopefully we don't see March to affect our schedules and the demand in the market, looking at the new budget and the overall export inquiries.
So, yeah, just if you have finished, Mr. Yash, just one question to you. Just one question. Have you reached the pre-COVID levels by in production or in dispatches?
Yeah, so if we compare it to last year, 1920, yes, we have. Most of the companies have. The shortfall, like I mentioned, if you remove the per capita as per labor, yes, everyone has. You know, if that shortage is taken off, but most companies are geared up. A lot of automation has taken place in the pandemic with the companies. A lot of cost saving has happened because of virtual trainings and virtual meetings. So yes, I would say our bottom lines of most companies has improved. I would not say for the year, but in this quarter.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And thank you, Mr. Munot, for your inputs, and thanks for sparing time for this important industry gathering. And now we'll go to Mr. V R Sharma. V R Sharma is, as I mentioned, a managing director of Jindal Steel and Power. And in the pandemic also, Jindal Steel and Power managed to make some profits. Isn't it, Mr. Sharma? So it's able leadership which has enabled JSPL to do so. And in this important juncture with budget just announced few days back, I would like Mr. Sharma to express his views on the special steel sector as well as the budget and its effect on economy and special steels. Mr. V R Sharma, please.
Yes, good morning, Chandrakarji, and good morning, Yash Munot, my other friends, industry champions, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me to speak a few words over here on this platform. First of all, I'd like to thank Government of India, Honorable Prime Minister, as well as Honorable Finance Minister for a wonderful budget which has been proposed for the nation in this country. And she has tried to touch base with almost all of the development, especially for the infrastructure. So this is definitely going to give a lot of thrust on domestic consumptions as well as for exports. Rightly said by Mr. Yash Munot that the industry is opening up. Most of the shops are fully busy or loaded. We are also expecting that a V-shaped recovery, which is already offing. And like in the case of China, China has spent more than $3 trillion during and post COVID time, pandemic time, in the infrastructure spendings. So India is also on the same way, but not three trillion, but of course at least 1.5 trillion dollars will definitely be spent by India, and this is what the budget speaks. So this means there is a great amount of opportunity which is going to come for MSMEs and also for the steel sector, and rightly proposed by Finance Minister. Some of the relaxation in custom duties, import duties are already done from 10% to 7.5%, especially on the alloy steel and alloys. And this is a good sign. Yes, of course, we agree that country had been passing through a very serious issue because the demand and supply was totally imbalanced. The reason is April, May, June, July, and August. The production of steel from the steel industry was at its low. If you see the calendar year from 1st January to 31st of December, we produced only 99 million ton steel, whereas our capacity is to produce 125 million ton minimum. And though installed capacity is 140 million ton, but the steel industry produced only 99 million ton, whereas China has produced in the same calendar year as against 950 million ton, they produced 1050 million ton. So they have grown up more than 5%. Russia has grown up more than 2.7%. Turkey has grown up by 6%. And Iran has grown up by 4%. India has reduced its production because of this pandemic situation. Not many companies, they could do better. But yes, because there was a lockdown in the entire country and it was a very strict lockdown. It was unlike America or many of the European countries. It was a very, very strict lockdown. And that's the reason that the domestic market was fully closed. Over and above the migration of the people to their hometowns or home states, that has created big problem. The another big issue is we have more than 17,000 passenger trains in the country. Unfortunately, these 17,000 trains, if you see, hardly less than 700 trains are running now. Hopefully, in times to come, all these trains will come on the track and they will start mobilizing people from one location to another location. This is what we have been requesting to Government of India and Indian Railway. Please try to start trains as early as possible so that the people, those who are stuck up in their hometowns, home states, they can move to the construction sites and to the industry. So over and above, there were few states, those who declared 12 hours working for the workers and for anybody who is willing to do. So that was a good step by some of the state governments, but not every state has implemented this to meet out the labor shortage. So this is an issue today, and I'm sure Government of India must be working on this as to how to convince the states to legalize the 12 hours of working, and they'll be paid for 12 hours, and so that we can meet out our demand. The other area is today 27% car components that do come from China. So these 27% car components, those which are coming from China, are to be produced in India. So earlier is better. So I think MSMEs will definitely get a chance to produce all these components, those which are being imported in India from China or from Thailand. There are three major hubs today in the world for the car components and for the forging and cast steel components in the world. The one is India, of course, the other is Mexico, and the third is Thailand. So we have to see that how much maximum share of the pie we can get in India, so that more and more components can be produced in India and more steel consumption can take place. India is having a very ambitious target of 300 million ton steel by 2030, which is possible. But not many new players are coming in India to put up the steel plants. So you will find that the FDIs in steel plants are not coming, except one plant, SR Steel, has been bought over by ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel. Not any greenfield projects has come in last 7 years' time. So this is very unfortunate. The country is not coming up with the new greenfield projects. Now, if you see 300 million ton versus 140 million ton of capacity now, so the gap is about 160 million ton. And in this 160 million ton, if you want to reach, then we need at least 32 plants of 5 million ton each. If you see today, more than 5 million ton, there are only 5 plants in the country. One is JSW, the other is Tata Steel, third is Steel Authority of India as a whole, then fourth is JSPL, and fifth is ArcelorMittal. There are not many plants, those who can produce more than 5 million ton in the country. So this means we need another 32 plants in the country. That means the total ecosystem will be overloaded, and it's very difficult to get land and to arrange the raw material management and the logistics to take care of these 32 plants of 5 million ton each, or 10 plant of 16 million ton each. So this means we have to again be dependent on the greenfield projects. So greenfield projects means the people, those who are having capacities more than 1 million ton, and they are total 9. So they have a chance to grow within the greenfield expansion program. But unfortunately, country does not have any financial institution which can support the core sector industry. So in times to come, there will be only two things. One, people, those who has money, who can accrue the income, they can put up the plant, or those who can definitely come with some of the IPOs or equity, they can put up the brownfield projects, or the government of India must support them to bring a financial institution for the core sector industry. So this is a big question, and this is what we have been requesting to government of India to please help us so that we can reach to the level of 300 million ton. Now, out of the 5 plants, if you see our 3 plants in India, JSW, Tata Steel, and Steel Authority of India, they are at a level about 15 million ton plus. JSPL, we have a very ambitious plan. I think we will reach this year 10 million ton, and we are planning by 2023 we should be 15 million ton plant. But the gap is too wide. Gap is 160 million ton. If we don't grow, then by 2025 we'll be importing steel worth about $60 billion. By 2028 we'll be importing about $140 billion. And 2030 will be importing about $200 billion of steel, which is impossible for any economy to afford. So this means there is a big potential for the steel industry in India to grow. The other area is, unfortunately, we have got only 7% of the total industries, those who moved from China. Balance all industries are gone to Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, Thailand, and Malaysia. So the people, those who are coming out of China and they want to put up their shops in India, I think we have to attract them, we have to lure them, and we have to give them a different kind of status. Then only these people will come. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. Rightly said by Mr. Yash Munot, the OEMs, especially the car manufacturers or white goods appliances or the automotive manufacturers, two-wheelers manufacturers, or the component users, the major OEMs, they will have to understand that whenever there is a price increase internationally, globally, they must try to pass on the benefits, or not the benefits, they must try to accept the increase in prices, and they should support the MSMEs and their vendors. Unfortunately, many of them, they adopt the policy of 3Ds. 3Ds here are, one is totally denial, that we cannot increase the price. The other is delay if you cannot deny. And the third is do if it is not possible to run their plants. So these 3D philosophy of most of the OEMs, that is very detrimental for the country. And whenever there is a price increase, they must come forward and they must support their tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 vendors. Unfortunately, what happens, the peak time, whenever there is a cyclic increase in the prices, it takes about 6 to 8 months time to bring down the prices to the normal level. And during that time, most of the vendors, MSMEs, or the supplier to the major OEMs, they suffer huge losses. So I think this approach has to be reversed. So whenever there is a price increase globally, I'm not telling domestically, globally, whenever there is a price increase, the OEMs must support their vendors. And whenever there is a price reduction, then of course, the vendors should also come forward. Whenever the aluminum prices, steel prices, any other copper prices, metal prices, these are coming down, and the MSMEs and the vendors to the major OEMs, if they are getting some relaxation price benefit, they must pass on to major OEMs. So this has to be in a two-way traffic with OEMs versus vendor one, rated 1, rated 2, rated 3. The another big factor which is required to be changed in the country is a balance in between value addition and value engineering. Most buyers, purchasers in the most purchaser from OEMs, they always look for the cheaper solutions, but they often forget the value engineering. Whenever there is a question of value engineering, they will speak, how can I reduce the total weight of the component? How can we change the chemistry? How can we do something which can cost us less? I think despite of that, they must try to find out what is the value engineering available within this, and that balance has to be maintained in between value engineering and value addition. So this is what they will have to do. Thanks to Government of India, for those sops which government has given, and the public has also responded very well. We have seen that the GST collection has gone to all-time high to 1,20,000 crore rupees. I'm sure most of the funds will go back to the state so that more and more infrastructure development can take place. That means more and more steel and steel components will be used in the country. So this is a good sign. So overall, in nutshell, I'd like to summarize as under: number one, the budget is very good. It is very promising. We are thankful to Government of India. This is number one. Number two, the demand of steel is likely to increase. Number three, the steel prices globally, they increased. Now they are at moderate level, depending upon the iron ore prices, of course, and the coking coal prices. The steel prices globally will keep modulating, and this change is very obvious, and this depends upon the overall scenario, global scenario. It is not India specific, it is global specific. So we have to accept that. The other point is the OEMs, they should show a big heart. They should act as a big brother, and whenever the prices are going up, they must support their MSMEs and their vendors, whether it is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever it may be. And next is, Government of India must invite more and more investments in the field of steel making, in the field of component manufacturing, in the field of forging, in the field of bringing technology, so that our products and our prices are very, very competitive worldwide. And the last point I would like to tell, that India will have to come sooner or later on one country, one tariff policy. Today we have 32 tariffs in the country. So each state is having different tariff, each union territory is having a different tariff, and few of these states, there are 2 different tariffs. And this is something very, very alarming, because the per unit prices, electricity prices are varying from 4 rupees 50 paisa to 14 rupees per unit. So this is something very, very strange. I mean, if you see UP, the price is about to industry, the per unit price is 10 rupees, Maharashtra is more than 12 rupees, Tamil Nadu is more than 14 rupees, Chhattisgarh is 4 rupees 50 paisa, Odisha is 4 rupees 50 paisa. So, you know, this is a big anomaly. So we have to see that today or tomorrow, when we have a one national grid, then the power supply should be available to the last mile customer at the same price. If you see China, the difference is only 0.2 cents. That means 4 cent and 4.25 cent is the price. So is America, so is France, so is Germany. And many of the countries, they are selling power to the industry and to the commercial institution at a lower price or a discounted price by 25% than the domestic one. So, but here we, you know, the situation in the country, most of the burden of the overall distribution that comes on industry and on the commercial institutions. So I think Government of India must work on this as to how to provide, how to implement a theory of one nation, one electricity tariff. If this comes, then definitely there will be a great respite, and the MSMEs can put up their shops anywhere in the country because power plays a very vital role. Similarly, some of the relaxation should be given in terms of environment policy. So wherever, whenever this is needed, the Government of India must work, must act in the favor of the industry so that some special zones are made throughout the nation where the pollution norms are liberalized. I'm not saying that it should be avoided. Those are liberalized, and that is possible when you supply power, electricity, water, railway at a very affordable prices to the industry. So this is all from my side. I wish you all a very, very happy new year, and I wish that the industry will flourish, prices will stabilize, and the component manufacturing industry, steel users will definitely be in a position to increase their business and enhance their business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Thank you very much for your insightful speech. And I have to make some one or two small points. As you said, greenfield projects are not coming. I totally agree with you because the land acquisition bill, the reforms are not there, sir. So how can greenfield projects come up? That's the main hurdle. And I do agree with you that the level playing field has to be given to the as far as power tariffs are concerned. So I think that power across the country should be at one price and a very reasonable price. Then only the industry can grow. That is number two. And number 3 point I wanted to make with specific reference to forging industry is that, see, this auto component industry gets sandwiched between, on one side there are big steel plants and on other side there are big automakers. So the forging industry, being the smaller of the three, gets sandwiched between these two giants. What do you have to say, Mr. Munot, on this?
So, Mr. Sharma, thank you for insight and opening eyes to the capacity that is going to be required. And that tells us that we have to gear up for meeting our requirements of steel in the future. One comment on the special steel, especially where it comes to nickel, moly, and steel, where again we are sandwiched in these places. But a proposition of a surcharge, which is used by most of the companies abroad, when it comes to steel, they have a surcharge for these components, looking at the pattern of the change in the nickel prices and moly prices. I think this introduction in the Indian market, it's a long shot, but get this surcharge implemented will not, with the slight increases and decreases in steel prices, it can be very well managed at both ends. From the steel end and obviously the buyers, the MSMEs in all sectors. So if this the steel industry could take up introduction of a surcharge wherein all these components are inbuilt, so that will smoothen at least the process of the dual window negotiation that has to be done by MSME.
Right, you're right. We'll definitely work on this. I'd like to update myself on this issue, and I'll take your help in this matter. And so the major factor today is the industry as a whole will have to be very flexible. Whenever the prices are moving up, we have to move up with the market. Whenever the prices are going down, immediately the steel industry should cut down the prices and should pass on the benefit to the vendors. And so is the responsibility of the major OEMs. The major OEMs must adapt a formula of the price variation clause, PVC. That may be given after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, no problem. But there should be an understanding. They should not be on a denial mode. They should not say, no, the prices are not that much. You are asking too much. And we know that these prices will go down in 2 months' time, 1 month time. This is a temporary phenomena. So, those kind of delaying tactics should be avoided by major OEMs. So, steel industry and major OEMs will have to play a very safe role so that the MSMEs and the middle industry, they are not squeezed in between two. So we have come with a policy to MSMEs about 3 months back, that we will go for the quarterly prices. If the price move up, we will not increase the price. If the price goes down, then we will reduce the prices. And most of our customers, they got benefit out of it. And we didn't increase the price when the prices were going up, because we have signed MOU with them. And whenever the prices are going down, so we have reduced their prices. So this is, this was a great benefit given to MSMEs.
Yes,
so
sir.
similar facility we are extending up till now. So though the prices are softening now, but I mean, that scheme is available, that whenever the price, we fix up the price for quarterly basis. If we see that, okay, in April, May, June, the X is the price, and if the price go up, will not increase. If the price go down, X minus 10%, X minus 2%, X minus 5%, will reduce it. So why we do that? One, because we do the forward booking of our raw materials, because we can afford the forward booking. We can afford the forward booking of the foreign exchange. We can also afford having the raw material and keeping some kitty for the MSMEs, so that they do not suffer, because finally they are the backbone of the industry. And we have more than 60 lakh MSMEs in the country. Out of that, I will say that only 10 lakh MSMEs are properly working. And out of 10 lakh MSMEs, only 3 lakh MSMEs are making profit. So this means out of 60 lakhs MSMEs, so 57 lakh MSMEs are just struggling, making small profit or just managing their day-to-day. And all these 60 lakhs, if you see, more than 40 lakhs are entrepreneurs converted into a businessman. So they do not have cushions and deep pockets available with them. They do not have the bank limits available with them. And unfortunately, many of them, they do not get their payments on time from their customers. That is a big agony. And in many of the cases nowadays, we have found that the major OEMs, they try to negotiate the prices with the mills. And then they will tell, okay, you price, this is the price, you buy from this mill at this price. If the material is not available, then again, the MSMEs or the component manufacturer is sandwiched. Number one. Number two, whatever a little cushion sometimes MSME people were having on price, that is also gone. So, for example, if the price is at 40,000 rupees and the major component, major OEM, they have negotiated with any of the steel mill at 39,000 rupees. Now they will price the component based, they will do the costing based on 39 rupees. And the flexibility of moving here and there, that goes away. So that means the MSME person or the small entrepreneur, he is the biggest sufferer in this particular exercise. The another problem is, I do not know in detail, but as per whatever my information is, no OEM gives advance to the tier 1, tier 2 or tier 3 vendor. This is another problem. So they must give advance. They must open letter of credit. They must give bank guarantees, so that people can go to their bank and they can leverage those instruments. So in my knowledge, none of the major OEMs, whether it is a car manufacturer or it is a two-wheeler manufacturer, they don't give any letter of credit to any of their vendors or to any of the MSMEs. This is something very serious. Whereas when you export, you get letter of credit. So there are big differences in exports versus domestic market. So my request to major OEMs, that they must look the vendors, their tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 vendors, as their extension, and they must pay advances at the time of need. So this is not happening today. This is what I know about the industry, and I may not be correct or I may be correct. I do not know. But whatever information I got from the market, that the major OEMs do not pay any advance. Now in this chain, most sufferer is the tier 3 vendor. When you are a tier 1 vendor, he is a bigger player. Then tier 2 vendor supplies to tier 1, and tier 3 vendor supplies to tier 2 or tier 1. That is a problem. That means the tier 3 person, he is a person who is converted into a businessman with a very little capital. He has no support from banking industry, no support from tier 1, no support from the major OEMs. But he is definitely supplying the material to the car manufacturer or to the two-wheeler manufacturer. So, but unfortunately, his plight is that he is unable to sustain. Now, the another big agony is whenever the major OEMs, they visit to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 vendor, so their purchase team, they expect that they should have all the facilities available on the earth in that company. They should have a good canteen, they should have a good labor relationship, they should pay very well, and they should have very good upkeep, housekeeping, they should have all concrete floors, they should have neat and clean, they should have all 5S implemented, they should implement TPM, TQM and everything, they should reduce their cost, and finally they don't pay them. This is what many places happening. So this is something to be changed. And who can change this? The only MSMEs can change their fate. This is what my view is. I may be wrong, I may be right, but these are my personal views I told you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Sharma. Just to add one thing to what Mr. Sharma said, even these automakers, they have adopted policy of taking the material on just-in-time basis. That means all the inventory has to be kept at the vendor, and whenever they require the material, they will just put the order, and within 24 hours the material has to reach their factory. Is it not, Mr. Munot? I mean, this is the system.
I would like to add, Mr. Sharma very well pointed out and very well put on the points. Two aspects. One is majorly which you said about expectations of a tier 3 supplier trying to be a ISO and a TS company. It involves costs, and obviously there are margins cut at every level before he gets that his plant to be equipped to supply and obviously to meet the competition. Secondly, like you mentioned, the inventory carrying cost, which is all borne by the tier 3 and like Mr. Chandeka just mentioned, it's all the inventory carrying cost is a huge cost which is not supported at any level in the industry, be it OE, be it tier 1 or tier 2, all face this problem starting from the bottom up. On the inventory carrying cost, and just-in-time delivery is becoming a major way of working, but in the but the other tiers are still not equipped to be a just-in-time supplier. We have to stock steel. We have to be ready with the differences in schedule have to be borne by us. The 10x difference in schedule month on month causes a big challenge for the industries to survive. And like Mr. Sharma mentioned, yes, there is a very few people who are able to manage their cash flows, and it is majorly the cash flows which get affected. One, in settling prices, the cushion on a major raw material inputs like steel or any other, there's the cushion which was available previously is gone completely, because the price settlement is become completely dependent on all of the raw material available. So that cushion has taken away the profit margins. So yes, the inventory carrying cost, like he mentioned, has to be brought in. The price support has to be brought in. And MSMEs need the support in payment terms now, especially at the times like these where everyone's cash flow is affected because of the pandemic. The steel industry's cash flow, the tier 1, tier 2, everybody's cash flow is affected because there was no inflow. But at today's time, steel has the industry does demand a booking fee and prepayment on steel. That is for them also to run their planning and their this, but it is not being able to. We are not able to meet. Most of the company are not able to meet their demands on prepayments or on steel and booking fees and etc. But this is obviously a challenge which will overcome with the increase in demand and availability of steel, and steel mills getting the cushion that they have been asked for.
Thank you, Mr. Munot, and it was a great discussion and very valid points put by Mr. VR Sharma and by yourself. So I would again like to thank you, Mr. Yash Munot, for taking out time and sparing your valuable inputs to this important industry gathering. Sharma Sahab, thank you very much for your insightful speech and your views on the union budget as well as its effect on the special steel sector. And this is, I feel, it will set the direction and the tone of the rest of the conference of the day. And I thank both of you for joining us in the inauguration session. That brings us to the end of this inauguration session, friend. But we have a very interesting and very absorbing discussion coming up at future of special steels in the country. That discussion is coming up just 10 minutes, 15 minutes after this. We'll have a short break of 15 minutes, and we have some very veterans, very experienced stalwarts in the industry again, who will guide us on how the special steel sector is going to behave in the coming years and coming time. Thank you very much. We'll have a 15 minutes break. Thank you.